This is the Diprotodon, the largest pouched animal that ever lived. Close to 3 tons of muscle and appetite. It ruled the Australian continent for more than 1,000,000 years, walking through ice age after ice age and coming out the other side every single time. Then, around 45,000 years ago, it vanished, along with almost every other giant on the continent. These were animals that had survived everything the planet could throw at them for over 1,000,000 years. Then, in a geological blink, they were gone. You might think it was the climate, one last ice age too harsh to survive. But the thing that actually killed the Diprotodon was us, and Australia was only the beginning. In 2004, the paleobiologist Anthony Barnosky and his team added up the global damage in the journal Science. As humans spread across the planet, 97 entire kinds of large animal were wiped out, roughly 2 out of every 3 that existed. Homo sapiens reached Australia around 50,000 years ago, crossing open water to get there. In 2001, Richard Roberts and Barry Brook published a study in the journal Science that dated the remains of these giant animals from 28 sites across the continent. Their result put the continent-wide extinction at around 46,400 years ago. Every land animal over 100 kilograms went extinct, along with most of the ones between 45 and 100 kilograms. In 2017, Zander van der Kars and Gifford Miller pulled a sediment core from the ocean floor off southwest Australia, a core that recorded the last 150,000 years layer by layer. They tracked a fungus called Sporomyella, which only grows on the dung of big, plant-eating animals. As long as the giants were alive and feeding across the landscape, that fungus showed up thick in the mud. Between 45,000 and 43,100 years ago, it collapsed. The dung vanished because the animals making it were vanishing, within a few thousand years of humans spreading across the continent. Gone in that window, the Diprotodon. Thylacoleo, the marsupial lion, a predator with the strongest bite of any mammal its size. Megalania, a goanna that grew up to 7 meters long. Geniornis, a flightless bird that stood taller than you and weighed over 200 kilograms. More than 85% of Australia's big animals wiped off the map. Australia's giants got hit this hard for one reason. In Africa and Asia, big animals had spent 2 million years learning to fear human hunters. That head start is why Africa still has its elephants, rhinos, and hippos today, the one continent where the giants mostly survived. Australia's giants never got it. When a 3-ton Diprotodon met its first human, it probably glanced over and went back to chewing leaves. A human with a wooden spear does not look like an extinction event. In 2016, Gifford Miller's team found burnt fragments of Geniornis eggshell at more than 200 sites across Australia. The burn patterns showed a heat gradient, scorched at one end and barely touched at the other. That is the mark of an egg cooked on the edge of a campfire. A wildfire would have charred the whole shell evenly. Someone was collecting these giant eggs and roasting them around 47,000 years ago. Miller called it the first solid evidence that humans were directly preying on Australia's giants. Every egg cooked was one less giant bird that would ever hatch. That mechanism has a name. Scientists call it imperceptible overkill. A Diprotodon breeds slowly, one baby at a time, with long gaps in between, the same way an elephant does today. Kill even a single Diprotodon every few months, or take enough eggs from the birds, and the deaths quietly start to outrun the births. There was no massacre and no dramatic hunt, just a small, steady drain the animals could not replace fast enough. Run that for a few thousand years, and the last one dies and takes the entire species with it. Then there was fire. The first Australians burned the landscape deliberately, clearing thick scrub to open the land and drive out game. Fire-resistant plants like eucalyptus spread across country where they had been rare, while the plants the giants depended on thinned out. The animals were hunted from one direction and starved from another at the same time. The same slow squeeze was about to reach the other side of the planet. Humans crossed from Siberia into Alaska roughly 16,000 years ago, walking over land that low sea levels had left exposed. In 1973, a geoscientist named Paul Martin laid out what happened next in the journal Science. Animals with no fear of people, meeting expert hunters for the very first time. The Clovis people, named for the distinctive stone spear points first dug up near Clovis, New Mexico, spread across North America around 13,400 years ago. Within centuries, more than 30 kinds of large mammal in North America were gone, and South America lost even more. Mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, and ground sloths the size of a car that weighed up to a ton. In 2024, James Chatters and Ben Potter tested the bones of the only known Clovis skeleton, an 18-month-old boy from Montana, and found that around 40% of his mother's diet was mammoth. These people were mammoth specialists. By 10,000 BC, humans had reached the southern tip of South America, the cold islands of Tierra del Fuego, and the great American giants were nearly all gone. There was never one exact year. Australia's giants died around 45,000 years ago. America's died around 12,000 years ago, right near 10,000 BC. Madagascar and New Zealand lost every single one of their giants, and it happened barely 1,000 years ago, within a couple of centuries of the first people setting foot there. Wherever human feet arrived, the giants disappeared soon after. Your ancestors did all of this before they invented the wheel, before writing, before a single tool made of iron, and the thing that drove it is still sitting inside you. The pull to move into new places, to take what is useful, to reshape the land until it suits us. When you drive past a field that used to be forest, or eat something grown on land that was cleared for it, you are the newest step in the oldest pattern our species ever ran. The giants survived more than 1 million years of ice and drought. They could not survive us. It took a small, clever, restless animal almost no time at all, and that animal is you. That's all for today. Subscribe if you want to learn more about your own history.